Hello, my friends on YouTube. Today is Sunday, the 11th of May 2025. Today's video could be for adults only, so please. I'm not intending to speak about anything for adults, but you never know because we're talking about the Prophet of Allah. Uh, Today's video is who likened women to dogs and donkeys. That might be strange to many people, strange title. However, there is a clear hadith that it tells us that the Prophet of Allah, may the blessing of Allah be upon him, said three things will, in a way, stop or prevent or negate the prayer of a man, that it will not reach God. And these three are: the black dog has to be black, the donkey, and the woman. Three, the woman is one of them. So let's say I'm a Muslim and I'm praying, and let's say my mother passes in front of me, or my sister, or my daughter. My prayer will not be accepted to God. And the what comes, even though it's not mentioned, I must admit that it's not mentioned directly, but indirectly people know that women are dirty or unholy, rather. In that tradition, I'm sorry, I'm not talking about average men and women. No, in this tradition, dogs is unholy, donkey is unholy, as well as women. Why? Because women get their monthly period, and hence you never know. So we consider them dirty, filthy, or whatever word you want to use. So that is the situation. So three things. Woman is one of these things. Okay? We're going to examine them carefully. Why? I'm going to put all these in the description box. They're in Arabic, but also there is translation. You can check them for yourself and find out what is going on. Okay. It says here a hadith, and the title of the book is very, it's about animals, but the word is used, it's even degrading to animals, because it's not calling. There are many words for animals in the Arabic language. One of them is what's equivalent to the English word animals, hayawanat. That's exactly the same level. But bahaim, the book is called Bahaim, is like, it's kind of disrespect to the animal. It's just when you say if you lost like a couple of dollars, it's just a couple of dollars, it's not a big deal, it's nothing. So the word used for animals, it's practically the same. Bunch of animals, practically, that's it. Anyway, but women are mentioned in that basic understanding. Okay, so you see, it's at the end, it's to build the culture. So when you speak about animals in that respect, and you disrespect animal in that manner, but also you shove woman in that hadith, then practically you're putting them both on the same level. Disgusting. That's disgusting. Women. bunch of animals and women and donkeys. So practically planting in the mind of a child filth, that is filthy, including women. And I don't know, should I look at my mother as filthy? My sister, my daughter, my wife? I'll become filthy too. But probably this is what they were. Okay, it's a long thing, but at the end, the meaning of the Prophet said, if you heard the barking of dogs or the bray of donkeys at night, mention the name of Allah, because these animals see what you don't see. Hence, that means it could be devils or whatever demon that he used to see. They are also seeing them. Therefore, it's good to mention the name of Allah and go and close all your doors, all your windows, and cover all of your food, put the lid on, and mention the name of Allah. And because the devil cannot, all these bad creature, spiritual, unseen creature, cannot open these things and cannot open a door that God's name was said when that door was closed, or a window, so you will be safe. So that's the Prophet of Allah talking. And I'm mentioning this hadith to explain that he had bad feeling with donkeys and with dogs, because I mean there are other animals that they make different sound but are not mentioned. And the reason is, I would say, I could be wrong, but that's my own understanding, because this young man, when he was young, or when he was rather a child, his mother gave him up to a woman to breastfeed him for 4 years until he became 4. She didn't want him around. And when you speak with Muslim clerks, they tell you yes, because his mother wanted him to inherit. She sent him south to learn the proper Arabic, as if they are in Mecca were speaking Chinese. Okay, so she sent him south of Arabia to learn the proper. Okay, very well. So while he was there, probably he was bitten by a black dog, because he specifically hates the black dog and he calls them Satan. Okay. And the donkeys, I don't know. Donkeys also sometimes actually they bite, and they bite hard. So who knows? He never had, let's say, a problem with cats, with camels, with horses, there are many animals in Arabia. Only the black dog and the donkey he didn't like, even though he owned a donkey. He owned a donkey. But anyway, that is the situation with him and the donkey and the women. The other hadith, I'm also excuse me, I'm going to put it in the description box. And after all the introduction, it says Aisha. This is very interesting hadith when you read it carefully. Aisha said, these people, like about 10 people narrating before Aisha, and they say Aisha said that 3 will negate the prayer of a man: the dog, the donkey, and the woman. And then Aisha replied, said, you likened us to dogs. You likened us to dogs. That means she was upset. And the reason here, I will and she's explaining that the Prophet of Allah, when he was praying, she used to not to disturb him, not to walk in front of him, but behind him. So she actually didn't go in front of him, which proves the point that he said dogs, donkeys, and women negate your prayer and stops it from going to God. So she used to pass behind him. Let's say she was saying, if I lay on bed and he's praying, I go behind him and go and do whatever I want to do, and I come back from behind him and hop on the bed. So I think it's very clear that he had problem with these two creatures, dogs and donkeys. Dogs, probably he was bitten by a black dog, which caused him a problem, mental problem, that he saw each and every dog as a threat or as a Satan, and probably was bitten or kicked by a donkey, which made him kind of have personal hate towards donkeys and dogs. Okay, but what about women? Actually, believe it or not, even though he had many women, many wives and many concubines and many female companions, but I think this man was hiding his feeling, which I feel it was hate and anger and resentment towards women. And that was probably because of what the lifestyle his mother led. When you know his story, that he was born 4 years after the death of his father, it doesn't take a scientific man to know no woman stays pregnant for 4 years. His father died 3 months after he consummated the marriage with his wife Amina, the mother of the Prophet. 3 months he disappeared, and 4 years later she delivers a boy, called him Muhammad. The story was the grandfather took his son to the market. He bought 2 women. I guess they were on sale. You buy one for $10, you get 2 for $15. So he paid the $15, he took 2. One for the grandfather and one for the son who is supposedly to be the father of Muhammad. 9 months later, the grandfather had a son who became the uncle of the Prophet. The grandfather, the girl whom he bought, conceived him a son. After 3 months from consummate, because the grandfather consummated the marriage, the son consummated the marriage. 9 months the grandfather had a son. 3 months the son died. And 4 years later, a son was born to that man who died. And once he was born, his mother left him with a babysitter for 4 years, far away in the south. She didn't see him daily. She didn't see him at all. And the reason is very clear. And there are things that it hints to that in the Muslim tradition, that she was working as a prostitute. And that's not the occupation that anybody is proud of. It's not like you are a teacher, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer. Even if you're a sanitation person who cleans the garbage, it's a job, but has nothing to do with your holiness. So once you go into that business, practically uh, it's not the highest occupation. And many people who do that, they do it secretly to make the money so that they can survive. And she was doing that, and she didn't want her son to see her doing that. So she sent him away. So he was resentful towards this woman, his mother. And it appears time and again that he was angry towards her. He couldn't forgive her. And it says that he asked God to forgive her. God couldn't forgive her. Couldn't forgive her sins. They were too heavy for God to handle. Of course, it was very difficult for Muhammad to let go. So in a way, he hated also women. So probably he hated dogs because he was threatened by a dog when he was a little child with this babysitter. Probably he was kicked by a donkey when he was with that babysitter. And that created trauma in his head. Add to that, when he was 4 years old, this babysitter took him back to his mother, whether she likes it or not, and she said, that's it, no more. So he probably, when he was 4 years old, they can actually comprehend things. They may not be able to verbalize what's going on, but they know from whoever is coming in and out what they are saying and doing. So he knew what his mother was doing. So with that, he hated his mother, and consequently he hated all women. I mean, I am not blaming him, because probably many of us, if not all, will have similar feeling. But if his mother this is the only way for her after her husband died to support herself. I'm talking about myself here. If my mother had nothing else to do and did that to support me so I can live, I will actually respect my mother. I wouldn't hold that against her. If she's not educated and this is the only thing she had to sell to keep me alive, I will respect her. But he couldn't. And therefore, I think he had anger, hate, resentment towards women. So he saw them as unholy. And you can see why. I mean, he couldn't forgive his mother. He saw that what she was involved in was unholy, was unclean. So he probably deep in, he hated her. And he was, in my opinion, as I try to understand this man, he was yearning for the love of a woman. But with the anger and hate that he had towards his mother, and therefore he was conflicted. One part, he looks at women as unclean and unholy, and therefore if she passes in front of a person praying, will stop his prayer, it will nullify his prayer, and he has to pray again. But also it could be because he was out of control sexually, because there is a story, I spoke about it before, that when he was standing with his friends on the street talking or whatever, doing with some friends, a Muslim woman passes by, and his sexual urge came up, and he had to relieve himself, and he runs to his wife, which was actually his daughter-in-law. I mean, his sexual life is completely perverted. He married his adopted son's wife, and when he sees another woman passing by, probably she was a curvious woman. She was covered, by the way, but he knew who she was. And he probably, in his mind, he built up stories that she's good, she's sexy, she's firm, she's this, she's that, she's curvious. So the same thing with his son's wife, his adopted son's wife. When he saw her at home, relaxed, he knew how curvious she is and how pretty her, how attractive. He wanted to have her for himself. So he commanded his son, his adopted son, divorce her and bring her to me. And he took care of her. So this, because he saw a woman, he couldn't control himself. He had to have her, even though she is the wife of his adopted son. And the Arabs in this area at this time blamed him for that. So he had to bring a Quranic verse to show his innocence. That's one. Two, that the Muslim woman who passed in front of him as he was talking to his friends, his sexual urge came up and he couldn't control. So what he did, he went to that woman and he asked her to take care of him quickly, and then he went back to his friends. So he was out of control sexually, and therefore if he is praying or whatever he's doing, when you are praying, you are really you want to be in deep prayer with God. But because an average person probably will not even notice if a man or a woman or an animal pass in front of him, because he's in deep in prayer, he may not pay attention. No. When a person only thinking of his testicles, he will notice whether this is a man or a woman. The smell, if she has some perfume, will get him up. The same like the woman passed in front of him when he was with his friends. He couldn't control. So to avoid that, to avoid exposing his weakness, and many people like him, because birds of a feather flock together, many of his friends probably were in the same boat. They didn't want to be exposed and he didn't want to expose them. So he prevented the women to pass in front of man. And maybe, I'm not sure, maybe he added the dog and the donkey just to kind of like hide the main subject, which is his weakness for woman. I don't know. It's all speculation, but definitely the only thing that it's not a speculation is he had some problems. And we see it in the Islamic society today. Thank you very much. Please like, share, and subscribe.